Si eres un empresario, profesional, un empleador o una persona que busca inmigración temporal o permanente, este mensaje es para ti. En Ready for Canada ofrecemos servicios de inmigración hechos a la medida que están diseñados para satisfacer tus necesidades. Nuestros profesionales con más de 20 años de experiencia en inmigración serán mucho más que asesores. Serán socios dedicados a navegar las complejidades de emigrar a Canadá. Contáctanos y haz realidad tus sueños.
Good day, everyone. I'm here to talk to you about immigrating to Canada and the federal and skilled worker programs. My name is Johnston, and I'm the founder of Ready for Canada Immigration Services. So the purpose of this presentation is, of course, to provide you with effective strategies to immigrate into one of these two pathways to Canada. You can check out our website to see our mission. Now, the main pathways for immigrating to Canada and Quebec are, first of all, the express entry at the federal level. Okay, this is a system which manages three programs: the Federal Skilled Worker Program, the Federal Skilled Trades Program, and the Canada Experience Class Program. What's important to know is that the express entry system is not a program in itself, it is a system. So whenever someone fits or qualifies into one of these three mentioned programs, they all enter a pool of candidates, and the federal government makes draws a few times a month, and they pick out from that pool. So they will decide to pick the people that have the most points in any given program, or any general draws, or for people that are from certain categories, which we'll explore later on. Then there is the Quebec Skilled Worker Program. I need to advise you that currently, since a couple of weeks ago, the Quebec government has put a moratorium. Okay, they've frozen this program until between March and June of 2025. However, given that this program will open and that it's also a new program replacing an old one, I will explain to you how this program works so that you can prepare and eventually apply in this program whenever it opens up. Okay, so the Quebec Skilled Worker Program, now called QSWP, is a distinct program focusing on French-speaking candidates with skills needed in Quebec and, of course, intending to immigrate in Quebec. First of all, let's start about the express entry system. As I said earlier, there's three programs, but we will examine only two. I have decided to not explain the Federal Skilled Trades Program, as this is a program which is very seldomly used. I personally do not like it a lot. I don't think that I've ever used it in the last 15 years that I've been practicing immigration. Okay, so the first program that we're going to be talking about is the Federal Skilled Worker Program. Now, what are the requirements to immigrate in Canada in this program? Well, first of all, you need to be an adult. You need to be 18 years or older. You need to settle in a province other than Quebec. And over here, I stress that because every time that you will be using a federal program to immigrate to Canada on a permanent basis, you need to intend to live outside of Quebec. Of course, once you are a permanent resident, you've got freedom of mobility, and if eventually you would like to live in the province of Quebec for a reason or another, you may do so. Okay, but you cannot intend at the time of application to live in Quebec using one of these programs. And it's the same thing if you use a Quebec-based program, and you cannot intend to live outside of Canada using one of these programs, but of course later on, you have got freedom of mobility in Canada, so you may eventually live elsewhere in Canada if something happens in your life, such as a new job, a new spouse who lives outside of the province. Okay, so to qualify for the Federal Skilled Worker Program, first of all, you need at least 1 year of paid work experience equivalent to a full-time job in Canada, which is at least 30 hours or more per week. So you need to have this 1 year within the last 10 years, okay, continuously working for a given job. you also need to have at least a high school diploma. Okay, just a little note here. Of course, whenever we say that you need at least a high school diploma, not many people with just a high school diploma will be picked in the express entry system. Okay, we'll give you tips later on how to increase your score, but just know that most people who will be picked out will have a post-secondary diploma. Now, you will need, of course, language proficiency. What's needed? So in Canada, we use what's called a Canadian Language Benchmark, okay, better known as CLB. And the two official languages are English and French. So you will be asked to have an upper intermediate level of French or English equivalent to a CLB 7 or a B2, which is the European system, but it's pretty much known worldwide. So, okay, so B2, upper intermediate level of English or French. The minimum score to qualify for the Federal Skilled Worker Program is 67 points. Okay, this is not to be confused with the second point system, which is used in the express entry system once you are in the pool. Okay, so this express entry system, which will be the points in the express entry system, and the points to in the Federal Skilled Worker Program are based on your age, your level of education, your knowledge of French and English, your work experience inside and outside of Canada, if you've got siblings inside of Canada, and so on. Okay, so these are all the aspects that you need to consider when counting your points. Okay, now, as I said, 67 points to qualify is not once you are in the pool. In the pool, you will need to have a much higher score, and it will be a different point system. The other criteria that you will need is to have a certain amount of money to establish yourself in Canada. Okay, these are commonly referred to as the settlement funds. Okay, so this will change whether you're coming alone, with a spouse, and also with kids. The second program, which is in the express entry system, is the Canada Experience class. Again, you need to be 18 years of age to apply, and you need to have at least 1 year of skilled work experience in Canada within the last 3 years to qualify. The experience must have been acquired as a temporary resident with a work permit. Okay, the occupations performed must correspond to Tier 0, 1, 2, or 3 of the National Occupation System. Okay, sorry, classification. What is the National Occupation Classification? Well, this is the system that the Canadian government uses to classify jobs. Now, Tier 0, 1, 2, and 3 all correspond to the skill level. Okay, so these are managerial, professional, technical, and vocational. Okay, tiers 4 is for semi-skilled, and tier 5 is unskilled. And tiers 4 and 5 are not eligible to be in the Canada Experience class, as the skill level is not considered to be high enough by the government. Okay, finally, the experience must also be paid. As for language skills, it is the same thing as the Federal Skilled Worker Program. You need to have at least CLB 7, upper intermediate, or commonly known as the B2 level, okay, in writing, reading, listening, and speaking. Just a little tip for you. People think that whenever they do an IELTS English test, or whether it's a French test, a TEF, or a TEFAC test, they will think that the score that they have is the average of the 4 categories: reading, writing, listening, and speaking. When in fact, your score is determined by your lowest of the 4 scores. Okay, this is something important to remember. So if I say to you that you need a CLB 7 or a B2, then this means that for all 4, you need to have a score of at least 6.0. If you have a super good score of 9.0 in 3 out of the 4 criteria, and only 1, let's say in writing, you score 5.5, then you do not have the minimum requirement to apply. As for studies, there's no minimum level of study that you need to apply for this program. And again, you need to live somewhere else than Quebec. You need to intend to live somewhere else than Quebec whenever you apply for this program. Now, people, of course, will often ask me, well, what can I do to up my score to be a competitive candidate in the express entry pool and get drawn by the government? Okay, there's a few things which you can do. Of course, people will want to up their score either. They will consider three aspects whenever they want to increase their score. They'll consider the time, the effort, and the amount of money they need to put into this. So some people, let's say mostly younger people, will tell me, well, I'm 20. I don't mind waiting 5 years to be picked. I will do what's needed, and I will be also putting the effort. I don't have kids. I don't have. My job is not very demanding. I've got time, but however, I don't have a whole lot of money. So for these people, I will give them specific advice. Some people, let's say someone is 40. They don't necessarily want to wait 5 years before immigrating. They're a bit more in a hurry, and they may also have young kids at home. So these people will mostly tell me, well, I don't have a whole lot of time to put in the effort. My job asks a lot of my time. My kids ask a lot of my time, and I'm no longer a young 20-something that has their whole life ahead of me. But I do have financial resources which I'm willing to put in to increase my score. So all depending on someone's specific profile, there is a strategy which they can use to increase their points. Okay, so this is what I do whenever I take people in a consultation with me. I study their profile and we talk about different strategies that they can use, and at the end they decide if one of these options is good for them, and if it is, then they implement it. Now back to what we were talking about here. So general strategies, okay, to increase your chances of being picked. First one is to fit into one of what's called a category-based selection. I've put down a link into my PowerPoint presentation so that you can consult this. You will see that this includes French language proficiency, healthcare occupations, science, technology, engineering, and maths, better known as the STEM occupations, trade occupations, transport occupations, and agriculture and food occupations. So if you have experience in one of these fields, recent experience in one of these fields, then this is good, because sometimes the government will say, will make draws which will be only category-based or program-based. So let's say the government today says, well, we're drawing people only in the healthcare occupations. So if you go on the website and you consult the healthcare occupations, you will have a list of people that can submit their profile, okay, in this occupation, in this category. Which means that there will be less people in this, less people competing to be drawn for this round of invitation, which increases your chances of being picked, as the points needed will be lower than if it's a general draw where everyone's in the pool, and this puts an upward pressure on points. Okay, there is another common way of increasing one's points is to leverage Canadian work experience. Okay, I know it's not always easy to find a job in Canada. Okay, and if you see here, this is you see here that you can use platforms like Job Bank, Indeed, LinkedIn, Monster.ca, and Workopolis to secure valid jobs in tiers 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, I stressed please select a job in one of these tiers, as it may be okay for you to have a job in tier 4 or 5, which is semi qualified and unqualified. But at the end of your work permit, your options to apply for permanent residence will be very limited. Okay. Now, whenever you've got Canadian work experience, okay, so if you get a work permit, okay, so I'm including here regular work permits, open work permits, okay, which is usually for spouses that are here with their foreign, either being that are here with their foreign spouse who's on either a study permit or another work permit, okay, a closed work permit working for one specific employer, or you can get the post-graduation work permit for people that have worked and that have studied in Canada and have obtained a qualifying diploma. Okay, so these people are able to work in Canada all sorts of jobs, which will increase their points significantly for permanent residence. Okay, and of course their profile will be much more competitive. Okay, and as I said a little earlier, if you want to, you can gain adaptability points if you graduate from Canada with the Canadian diploma. This gives you a little bit more points, and if you have siblings, this will also give you a little bit of points, because the siblings will help you to integrate into Canada. Okay, one of the very important strategies to increase one's points for express entry is to improve your language skills. Whenever I'm talking about language skills, I'm talking about English and French. Okay, the express entry pool right now is very competitive. There's a lot of people in there wanting to immigrate into Canada, and the points needed are very high compared to what they were even just a year ago. Okay, so people need to put in more and more and more effort. Okay, so gaining points from language skills, so meaning doing, let's say, your TEF exam, TEF exam for French, or learning your and doing your IELTS, okay, for English, okay, and it can also be certain other language exams, either for French or English. You may take a look on the website. There is a list for each of the official languages. Okay, so it's good to enroll into intensive English and / or French classes. If you've done a test and you have one of the language scores which is too low, retake the test. Okay, because whenever you pass certain milestones, your score increases a lot. It's not a gradual increase. Of course, there is a small gradual increase whenever your score increases, but whenever you pass a certain level, your score increases quite a lot. Okay, and here's how the bilingual advantage, okay, by bilingual meaning French and English, is a very good option for you. Okay, first of all, the government, with its social engineering programs, wants to increase the amount of French-speaking immigrants outside of the province of Quebec, so meaning in the rest of Canada. Okay, and if you have a French proficiency score of at least 7, B2 or plus, you will gain a whole lot of points. You will gain a French bonus. And if you have 2 languages, which is at least a CLB 7, okay, or B2, you will have a big increase in points for knowing both languages. And this is a very good way to add many points, and this can be a game changer for people that had that really didn't have enough points, and suddenly they have a competitive profile. Learning languages is one of the easiest and least resource intensive ways, okay? Meaning it's not as expensive to learn another language as it is, let's say, to go and gain a diploma, return to school, okay? So this is a very good way for you to gain a lot of points. With, of course, there is going to be an effort to learn another language. You'll see that French is a lot harder to learn than is English, but it is worth it. All depending, of course, on your profile. Okay, and again here during this presentation, I cannot account for every type of profile which exists because we would be here for hours. Okay, but this is a general strategy. Again, if you want to know a strategy which would be specifically good for you, how much will it increase your chances of being picked, then booking a consultation session with me is the best way of gaining that information. Okay, now if we move on to Quebec. Now, officially at the end of November of this year, Quebec is going to have a new skilled worker program, okay, which is PSTQ, Programme de Sélection des Travailleurs du Québec, okay, in French. But as I said, there's a moratorium also with the Quebec skilled worker program, which will reopen sometime between March and June of next year. So let's prepare you to apply for this program. Okay, so first of all, the PSTQ is managed through the ARIMA platform. This is another expression of interest system very similar to Express Entry. Again, you have a certain amount of points based on your age, your education. Quebec, however, adds the field of education in there. Okay. Your language skills, especially French, but still English does count for a little bit of points, okay, and so on. Okay, so whenever you qualify and you put yourself in the ARIMA pool, you will be a candidate which can be chosen and sent an invitation to apply in the next draw. Okay, with the new system for Quebec, the PSTQ system, there will no longer be a point system to qualify. Remember, though, that there is still a point system to receive an invitation to apply, but instead of being two, there will only be a 2-point system. There will only be one. Okay, this new program will have 4 streams. Okay, so there will be the highly qualified and specialized competencies for tiers categories 0, 1, and 2. Okay, so this is managerial, professional, and technical. Okay, so as you can see here, there are, again, minimum French oral proficiency and written proficiency, and the spouse's proficiency level is also taken into account. Okay, so you will need one recognized college or university diploma, and you will need a recent work experience of at least a year in that field. There is the intermediate and manual competencies for tier categories 3, 4, and 5. So you will need at least 2 years of recent work experience, but one of those 2 years must be for work done in Quebec. Okay. So it requires at least the equivalent of a vocational training certificate, but the minimal French oral proficiency is a level 5, which corresponds to about a B1, which is a lower intermediate level. Okay, whereas if you look at the first stream, you do need a level 7 for oral, so B2, and you do need a B1 for written. Okay. So in this case here, you just need a B1 level for oral French proficiency, and no French proficiency is required for the writing aspect. The spouse must have a level 4, which is approximately an A2 or an upper beginner for oral French only. Okay, so you will notice for this category that tiers 4 and 5, which is semi-skilled and unskilled, is also approved. But the catch here is that one of these 2 years of work must have been done in Quebec. So you will first need to obtain a work permit through a job offer and work in Quebec. There will also be the third stream, which is the regulated professions. Okay, so in Canada and in Quebec, about 20% of all jobs require a license. Okay, so people will, to practice in certain professions, they will require a license. So this is a bit hard for foreigners to obtain, and the regulators will usually determine that you need to be a permanent resident or a citizen to obtain this license. Most of them will accept that you start evaluating the credentials, your diploma assessment, and compare it to a Canadian diploma. So you will be able to do this, and so which will provide proof that you have started the process of obtaining your license. But of course, you will not be able to finish until you are a permanent resident. Okay. So for this, if you qualify in one of these regulated occupations, okay, so we're talking here about medical doctors, engineers, architects, so on. Okay, so these people, these are occupations which are well paid and in high demand in the province of Quebec. They're in Canada as well, and they are also regulated in all provinces. But here we're talking just about Quebec. So if you start the process to have this assessed to get your license, then this will serve as proof that you have started the process and will make you qualify for the regulated profession stream. And finally, there is the exceptional talent for individuals who have made exceptional contributions to their field. Now, this is a new stream which was never really tested out in Quebec. So I'm a bit, since the program hasn't started and there is a moratorium, I have very limited knowledge as to what I can tell you about this new field. But we can hope that this will be, let's say, for artists that are highly recognized in their field, but do not necessarily fit into one of these other categories. They may not have the language skills, or but they have such exceptional talent that it would be a waste for the province to not have them just because they do not meet certain bureaucratic criteria. Okay, so effective strategies to apply for the PSTQ, okay, the Quebec Skilled Worker Program. To improve your French skills, enroll in courses like the ones offered by Alliance Française to achieve a B2 level or higher. Okay, you can even consider immersion programs to enhance language proficiency and integration. You can focus also to gain additional points. If you've got a whole lot of time, you can get a diploma in especially one of those regulated occupations. I don't have a crystal ball, but I do believe that the government will like picking people from the regulated occupations a bit more than the other streams, simply because these occupations are a lot more in demand and they're well paying, so people will tend to want to stay in the province once they come in, because they will have a license to practice in this specific province only, okay, in Quebec only. You can also practice English, which of course does not give as many points as French, but still does give a little bit. And of course, you may gain work experience, okay, especially in skilled fields. The foreign work experience, so work experience outside of Canada, will of course give you points. And if you're able to work in Quebec, then this is a big bonus because your points will increase quite a lot. Okay, so whenever you complete your profile in Arima to be picked, it's very important to put down all of the information which is in there, and to put down accurate information, because contrarily to the express entry system where you are able to, the express entry system, you are not able to put down your profile if you do not qualify. Okay, and but in the Quebec system, you can put down your profile even if you do not qualify, but if you're picked, your application will be refused for sure, and you will have lost a lot of time and some money as well. Now here at Ready for Canada, our goal is to offer each customer the most current turnkey service possible. Okay, here's a partial list of services offered for all applications and programs. Okay, first we will always evaluate your profile. Okay, and we want to make reasonably sure that you qualify before we sign you on. Okay, Ready for Canada has been in business now for 15 years. Myself, I am a former immigration agent for the Canadian government. So in total, I have 20 years of experience in the immigration industry in government, and 5 years in government, 15 years outside of government, managing my own firm. And if I am able to have stayed that long in the business, which makes my company not the oldest, of course, but one of the oldest companies in Quebec and in the country, is because I have been honest with my clients. If I would have told a whole lot of people that they qualified, or that they would have had a lot of chances to be picked out from the pool whenever they did not have a lot of chances, then people would have not recommended my service to others. And 95% of my business comes from people recommending me to others. So if I've survived for 15 years, then this means that I have been recommended a whole lot to different people, because people have been were satisfied with my services, and most of them have managed to have successful applications completed. Okay, so I will give you an honest evaluation. And I will evaluate your profile for free. Of course, I won't be sitting down and talking an hour for free with everyone which wants to have their evaluations done, because or else I would simply go out of business. Okay, because everyone wants to know if they've got a shot at immigrating to Canada. Okay, so if I feel that there is a chance, or even if I do not feel that there is a chance, I will let you know. And if people want to continue, then there is a paid consultation session, okay, which we move on to, where we assess all of your options and we construct a roadmap for your immigration to Canada. Whether it's a roadmap which leads straight to permanent residency, or whether you're first a temporary resident and then a permanent resident, this will all be determined by your profile. Okay, this is a very complex, but we managed to make a clear roadmap at the end of a consultation session. Okay, and if people sign up with me afterwards for a program leading to permanent residency, such as the two that we've talked about, I reimburse the consultation session fee whenever people sign the contract and make the first payment within 1 month of us having the consultation session. Okay, so whenever we start the application, I will always make a personalized list of documents required to be submitted to the Canadian or the Quebec government, whichever one we apply for. Okay, and sometimes we need to apply for both. Okay, so this, if you take a look at the government list of documents, you will always see generic list of documents which apply for a whole lot of people, and you will be wondering, does this document apply to me? Does that document apply to me? I will make it very clear, and I will create a list of customized list of documents for you only, so that you know that all of the documents in this list you must submit. Okay, of course, whenever you provide me with the documents, I will make in-depth review. We will do all of the application forms. Nowadays, there are some portals that need to be opened, and application files online that need to be created as well. And we will do the filing with the immigration. We will file the applications with the immigration authorities, and we will follow up on them. Okay, and you will, of course, since we've got a license to practice in Canada, and there is a second one that we have to practice in Quebec, you will have full legal representation with us. Okay, so basically, this is really a turnkey service that we're offering you. Okay, we are there for you from A to Z until you're a permanent resident. Okay, the only thing which you need, we will do everything for you. The only thing which you need to do is provide us with the documents that we tell you to provide us, sign where we tell you to sign, and then we take care of all the rest. Okay, so this concludes this presentation for the skilled worker programs in both Quebec and the rest of Canada. So you can see our website, www.readyforcanada.com. So this is ready for, numerical 4, canada.com. The email to contact us is immigration@readyforcanada.com. I encourage you to contact us by email, because a lot of people do contact us by phone. And as you can see here, my immigration case manager, Maud Elisa Louisin, is the one who will answer the phone. She is a very dedicated employee, very competent in her field, but however, she cannot give consultations over the phone or tell people if they qualify or not over a 2-minute call. Okay, this is usually more complex, and we need to have information from you, and I, as the consultant, will always make the final determination if you qualify or not for a program. As you can see, I've got my licenses. Okay, do not do not be fooled by using a ghost consultant. Okay, people that are unregistered, if the government ever finds this out, they will cancel your applications. The ghost consultants are also unaccountable, meaning that you do not have a whole lot of recourses against them if you are conned out of money. And there are some con artists that are out there in my type of business, unfortunately, to take your money, because immigration is a very important decision that someone will make in their lives. It's one of the top 3 or 4 important events in their lives. Okay, and so of course, unfortunately, there are some people that are willing to take advantage of that. Okay, so to conclude on a good note, then this is the conclusion. We can have a Q&A session, and I'm happy to take questions from you. Okay, for a short while, and of course, you will be able to contact me to have a paying consultation session. And of course, if you just want me to evaluate if you have any chances, the questionnaire that we make you fill up and to determine if you have a chance at immigrating right away to Canada is free. Okay, but if you want to have more details on how you can make it happen or any other questions, then this is a paying consultation session, and we're happy to help you. And we hope that we will see you in great numbers in Canada in the years to come. Good day, everyone. I'm here to talk to you about custom business immigration to Canada and investor programs. More specifically, we'll be viewing the custom business immigration to Canada, the custom business immigration to Quebec, and the Quebec investor program, as well as the EB-5 for permanent residents in the USA. First of all, let me introduce myself. My name is Johnston. I'm a regulated Canadian immigration consultant, and I'm the founder of Ready for Canada Immigration Services, Incorporated. The purpose of this presentation is to provide you with effective strategy to help you immigrate to Canada as a business person. So what are the requirements to open or purchase a business anywhere in Canada if you want to immigrate here? So first of all, it's important to know that whenever immigrating to Canada as a business person, this is almost never a black or white type of application. Okay, so one must prove their credibility as a candidate for business acquisitions. Okay, so you need to demonstrate that you have sufficient funds to open up the desired business. Okay, in Canada, you cannot get a loan to, as a foreigner, to open up your business. So this is why it's important to show that you already have the funds and that they are liquid, meaning that they're either in your bank account or that you may have them in stocks or bonds. You also need to show that you possess the minimum language skills, English or French, or all depending on if you're immigrating in Quebec or outside of Quebec, okay, which are required to operate the business successfully, or that you have a plan to temporarily compensate for the lack of language skills. Okay, and last but not least, you also need to demonstrate that you have a certain amount of experience, okay, operating, either as an owner or as a senior manager, the type of business which you would like to open up in Canada. Okay, so whenever we take a look at the Canadian business immigration solutions, okay, so we can take a look at the pathway options here. Okay, so the entrepreneurs looking to move to Canada have two main options: either purchase an existing business or start a new one. Okay, both can lead to a work permit and eventually to PR status. Okay, PR status meaning permanent residence. Okay, so here are the main, but not the only, but the main work permit options which are available to you. So you've got the C11, C12, the LMI-based work permit, and the C10 work permit. Okay, so the C11 full work permit is for self-employed individuals, which is not what we're talking about here, and it's for entrepreneurs establishing a new business in Canada. Okay, so typically granted for innovative businesses or businesses hiring a big number of people. Okay, so this is a type of work permit which will be delivered to people that will be bringing in significant benefit, okay, to Canada and as an entrepreneur. There is the C12 work permit, okay, for intra-company transferees. So if people would like to have an existing business outside of Canada and they would like to open up if they would like to open up a satellite office, or they would like to expand their business operations into Canada, okay, they are able to acquire in certain cases the C12 work permit. Okay, and there is also the LMI meaning labor market impact assessment. Okay, this is for those who wish to purchase an existing business, okay, not necessarily start up a new one. Okay, so the LMI helps demonstrate the economic benefits to the acquisition. This is important to note that this is not for people intending to open up a business in Quebec on their own. And last but not least, there is the C10 work permit. This is a more general type of work permit for people that are bringing in a significant benefit but have a hard time fitting in other categories. So this will be a type of work permit which will be approved a lot based on the agent's judgment of the benefit that you're bringing inside the country. Okay, so whenever you as a potential business owner acquire one of these permits, you will be able to come in with your spouse, who will be able to acquire an open work permit. Okay, and in many of the options leading to permanent residence, your spouse will play a role. Okay, of course, in this presentation, we cannot explore all of the options because it would take too long, and one's profile and where one intends to stay, also if it's in Quebec or outside of Quebec, will determine a lot if the spouse will be of any use in obtaining permanent residence. Okay, but in any case, it's best that in most cases, the spouse will need to work in what's called a tier 0 to 3 role. Okay, now tier is part of the National Occupation Classification, okay, which is a system used by the Canadian government to determine one's field of occupation and one's skill level as well. Okay, so tier 0 to 3 are managerial, professional, technical, and vocational skills. Okay, there is also tier 4 and 5, which is for semi-skilled and unskilled. These are not, although your spouse can work in one of these fields, if your spouse will be useful to obtain permanent residence, he or she is not intended to work into a tier 4 or 5, as the pathways leading to permanent residency need to have been obtained after having worked in skilled occupations, which means 0 to 3. Okay, so once someone has a work permit and is coming here to open up a business, what happens in Canada except for the province of Quebec? Okay, so all depending on one's profile, okay, which is important. It's important here to understand that a person's profile will be key in determining if the spouse will play a role, when you will apply for permanent residence, okay, and certain actions or documents that will need to be acquired in order to gain points to become a permanent resident. Okay, so in the rest of Canada, in most cases, the permanent residence will be obtained in the express entry system. Okay, the express entry system being a point system, a point-based system, where your age, your level of education, your work experience inside and outside of Canada, your language skills for French and English, whether you have a permanent job offer, etc., will count to give you points, and you will need to be a competitive candidate because the federal government will pick people out from this pool that have higher amount of points, and you want to be in these. The people the people that will receive invitations to formally apply for permanent residence. Now, as a custom business owner, okay, a business owner using the custom permanent residence pathway, okay, which Ready for Canada has created for you using different programs, all combined, so that you can become a permanent resident. Okay, you will need to work in most cases 1 to 3 years of skilled work, again in tiers 0 to 3. Okay, if you're if the business owner will be the principal applicant, then the principal business if the business owner is the principal applicant, then they cannot own more than 49.9% of the business to gain points for work experience done inside of Canada. Okay, so this is important. If you have a Canadian partner operating the business with you, you cannot own more than 49.9%. Okay. This will also limit the type of work permit which we can use to open up the business. So for example, we wouldn't be able to use the C11 work permit for entrepreneurs, but we would still be able to use the C12. We would still be able to use the LMI based work permit. Okay, so this is what I'm saying whenever I'm explaining to you that your profile and how you intend to immigrate will modify the strategy used greatly. Okay. Achieving a CLB9, so this stands for Canadian Language Benchmark, level 9, which is also known as the C1 in the European reference system, okay, which is a lower advanced level, okay, in the primary language which you want to learn, which will be either English or French, okay, is mandatory. Okay, you may also learn the second language up to a level B2, which is an upper intermediate level, but this is optional, but is beneficial for points. Again, your profile will determine if I would suggest this of you, but there is a whole lot of different combinations which we can use. We can have you either work more years inside of Canada so that you can gain more points. We can also give you what's the next point is a permanent job offer, which will give you again more points. So there is a combination of things which we can do depending on your profile and also depending on what you're willing to do. Okay, I take advantage of this to say that whenever people approach me, I first talk to them a little bit just to see if they're if the business person can qualify in another easier category to immigrate. If not, then the business category is the category which we'll use, and I will determine quickly if the person is a good candidate. If they are, then I have them fill out a detailed questionnaire. Yes, this is a complex program which I've created. And whenever assessing this, if everything is okay, then we have a paying consultation session where we explore all of the options and we determine if the person is a good fit for this program to start a business in Canada, and also if the person is willing to do what's needed to gain permanent residence. Okay, so as I was saying here, without a spouse, and in the majority of cases, the business owner must be offered a permanent job to earn additional permanent residence points to be picked out of the express entry pool of candidates. And in certain cases, the business owner's spouse must be offered a permanent job by his or her employer. Okay, what's important to note is that in many cases, if the business owner comes with a spouse and she has in fact worked a tier 0 to 3 job, especially if the business owner owns more than 50% of the business, then the spouse will become the primary applicant, and we will usually use a Canada Experience Class program to have them apply for permanent residence. You know, whenever people want to immigrate to Quebec, the pathway will resemble the Canadian pathway, but given that Quebec has its own immigration programs and their own rules, we need to use the Quebec programs for the custom immigration pathway. Okay, so of course this all starts with a work permit. So as we said, the C11, C10, or C12 work permits for business operations in Quebec. So unless you've got a partner in Quebec who is willing to hire you so that you can own part of the business with them, then no LMI can be used for Quebec. And in the vast majority of cases, we will avoid using an LMI. Okay, so in Quebec, the spouse is usually almost always required, as I said, unless there's a business partner, which we can create another customized approach. But in most cases, the spouse will need to temporarily immigrate with the open work permit, and he or she will need to work for a different employer and cannot own the business or part of the business. And this is very important because the spouse will become the primary applicant whenever it comes time to apply for permanent residence. And to apply for permanent residence for work done inside of Quebec, you cannot partly or entirely own the business which employs you, or else this disqualifies you. So this is why the spouse is very important and must work in a different business, as the Quebec government can sometimes determine that even if the spouse does not own the company, that since the spouse owns the company, that she has indirect control over the company, and we do not want to run into this problem. And so the eligibility for the Quebec pathway is simpler. Okay, there is no point system at all to be used. Okay, the business owner's spouse, who will usually be the primary applicant, will need to have worked for 2 years full-time, meaning 30 hours or more per week inside of this business. And there will be a language requirement. So the spouse will need a B2 level of oral French, which is upper intermediate, and a B1 level of written French, which is a lower intermediate. The business owner will need to have, who will become the accompanying spouse. Okay, for permanent residence, and the permanent residence application only will need to have an A2 level, which is an upper beginner level of oral French only. And finally, for people that do have a certain amount of financial resources, but who do not want to start a business, but would just like to make a passive investment, there are options for you in either Quebec, the province of Quebec in Canada, or the US. So let's start with Quebec. Yeah, there is the Quebec Investor Program, which has just freshly reopened earlier this year. Okay, so there are some program requirements, of course. You need to intend to reside in Quebec. Okay, now whenever I say reside in Quebec, this means that at the time your application is filed, you need to intend to reside here. Once you are a permanent resident, you have freedom of mobility inside of Canada, but it is very important that you remain in Quebec for a certain amount of time, okay? Because you do not want to leave the impression that you have used this program to immigrate elsewhere in Canada going through Quebec. The government, the federal government, looks out for this type of application. Okay, they look out to see that the investor truly intends to reside in Quebec and is just simply, let's say, passing by. I guess you really need to give it a good try. Okay, give it a go to live inside of Quebec. Okay, now you need to have a minimum net worth of $2 million, which has been illegally acquired, and the government will want you to prove this. Okay, so of course, whenever we would work together on such a file, I would let you know exactly how this would be proved. Okay, and you will need to make a minimum investment, okay, of $1.2 million in a government approved, through a government approved financial intermediary. And so there will be $1 million through a no interest loan, which is reimbursed after 5 years by the government. And you will be gifting $200,000 to the Quebec provincial government, who will use this money to fund certain business programs through subsidies. Okay. You will need to enter into an investment agreement with an approved financial intermediary. I deal exclusively with one very credible and the biggest financial intermediary for this program. Okay, you need to have at least 2 years of management experience in the last 5 years. Okay, even if it's a passive investment and you're not going to be actively operating a company for a reason or another, the government wants you to at least have 2 years of management in the last 5 years. Okay. At a certain point, once the application is filed, the Quebec government will issue what's called an intent to select. This means that the Quebec government intends to approve your application, but hasn't done so already, as you need to then apply for an open work permit within 6 months and stay inside of Quebec for a period of 12 months within a 24-month period. And half of the 12 months may be completed by the investor's spouse. Okay, if you if for a reason or another you cannot be that long in the province at that specific point in time. Now, what are the investment conditions? Okay, because you are using a government-approved financial intermediary to file that money. Okay, so what will happen? Okay, is that in most cases the investors will prefer to give 300,000 to 350,000 Canadian dollars to the financial investor. This amount will vary with the interest rate. Okay, and okay, so they will give this amount of money to the financial intermediary to cover the $1 million free interest loan that the financial intermediary will provide the government of Quebec with. Okay, meaning that you give 300 to 350,000 Canadian dollars to the financial intermediary. They give $1 million. They loan $1 million to the Quebec government, and then after 5 years, the financial intermediary gets the $1 million loan back. Okay, so this, of course, you have invested the 300 to 350K within the Quebec government. You have given this amount of money to the financial investor. So this is for you to not have to surrender $1 million without interest for 5 years. Okay, so a lot of people will prefer to give this money to the financial investor and have the financial intermediary and have the rest of the 650 to 700,000 to use as they see fit, to invest as they see fit, because they will be losing a lot of money by not being able to invest this amount of money within 5 years, and it can happen that the amount of money invested surpasses what has been surrendered to the financial intermediary. Okay. Secondly, as I mentioned earlier, you will need to gift 200,000 Canadian dollars to the Quebec provincial government. So this will be done again through the financial intermediary, meaning that your total contribution will be from 500 to 550,000, depending on the interest rates in the country. Yeah, so in most cases, the investor and his family will be in Quebec with an open work permit within 6 to 8 months, okay, which is pretty fast compared to what it used to be in the past, and also compared to a lot of programs that are currently being used, okay, and will become a permanent resident within about another 2 years, okay, depending on how fast they complete their minimum required time in Quebec and how fast they then apply for permanent residency. The final program for those of you who would like to live in the United States, there is another investor program, which is the EB-5 visa, the EB-5 Immigrant Investor Visa. Now, what is this program? Okay, so it's the EB-5 visa allows investors to obtain a U.S. green card, so permanent residency, by investing in a job-creating commercial enterprise. Okay, the requirements. Okay, and the requirements is a minimum investment of $800,000 US in a targeted employment area. Okay, so this is high unemployment area. Of course, there is a higher amount for areas where the unemployment rate is not higher. But myself and my partners, we always target areas which have a high unemployment rate so that you can invest the true minimum amount of money. Okay, you need to create at least 10 full-time jobs within 2 years, which is very easy to achieve and is pretty much always achieved. Okay, my role as an agent, okay, because since this is for the United States, I am not a registered Canadian. Well, I'm not a registered lawyer in the U.S. I can only practice immigration law in Canada. Okay, so for this, I will work with a U.S. lawyer. Okay, And I will, of course, work with the project promoter, okay, and we will create and submit EB-5 applications on your behalf. Okay, what are the benefits? Of course, it's the green card, the permanent residence for the investor, spouse, and any unmarried children under 21 years of age. Okay, so the processing time currently varies considerably. Okay, but the legacy here meaning that the program changed and reopened in June 1st of 2022. Okay, and the applications submitted after this date are processed and a lot faster than the applications pre June 1st, 2022. Okay. So the latest estimates are between 1 and 24 months for the I-526 to be processed and obtain conditional permanent residence. Okay, so what happens is you first come to the U.S. as a conditional permanent resident. Okay, and after a couple of years here, you apply to have these conditions lifted and become a full permanent resident. Okay, so for those of you who are interested in this program, the promoter that I am working with does have a very good project going on right now to open up a hotel in New York City, okay, in a high unemployment area of the city. You can write to me and I'll be happy to provide you with information and a pamphlet. And if you are willing to if you're interested in investing into this hotel, which construction is already undergone, things are going well, the jobs have already been created. Okay, so this is a very good project to currently be investing in. So if you're willing, after I show you the information, to continue, then we can of course speak with the promoter together, and we can also speak with the U.S. lawyer that I work with, to put you to create confidence in you that your application will be submitted and that we are duly accredited people who are authorized to promote this program and apply for you to get lawful residence in the U.S. through the EB-5 immigrant investor visa. So what services does Ready for Canada offer for business immigration? Okay, well, first of all, as I always say, we are a turnkey solution for you. Okay, we offer a turnkey solution for you. Okay, I used to be an immigration agent a long time ago, for a few years, and I've been operating my business for the past 15 years. Okay, I've been operating my immigration firm for the past 15 years. In 2025, I will have 20 years of experience in the immigration field as an immigration agent for the Government of Canada, and as well as a regulated Canadian immigration consultant owning my own firm. Okay, so what do we do for you? Every time a client signs up with us, we will create you a customized list of documents. Okay, you will often look into different programs, and especially business programs, which are the most challenging. We will create this list for you, and so that you do not have to figure out which document you need to give. So this will be tailor-fitted for you. Okay. Afterwards, we will review all of your documents. Okay, and we will also, of course, provide you with a consultation session where we will explain everything, which will be done step by step, every milestone that you'll cross, and we'll explain to you every document which you need to submit, and of course answer all of your questions. We will create all of the applications for you, because there will, with business immigration, especially custom business immigration, there will be more than one application filed. We will be taking care of all of these for you. We will be following up with the authorities for you, and we will be legally representing you, meaning that we'll be getting all of the government letters and communications going our way, and we will simplify the government, the bureaucratic jargon for you so that you can have peace of mind and find and just navigate smoothly through the immigration process, which of course you would arrive in Canada as a temporary resident in a matter of months, but you will become a permanent resident in a matter of a few years. Okay, so we will always follow up on applications for you, and we will be with you from A to Z until you become a permanent resident. So basically, what we always tell our customers is, with our turnkey service that we offer, you provide us with the document that we ask you to provide us. You sign where we tell you to sign, and we take care of the rest. Okay, and this concludes my presentation for business immigration. Okay, I am open to any questions, if any. Please feel free to visit our website, www.readyforcanada.com. The email to contact us is immigration@readyforcanada.com. If you wish to contact us and speak with my immigration case manager, Mo Delisa Luisa, you may contact us at 1-819-486-1070. Please note, though, that Mo Delisa is not able to let you know over the phone within a conversation lasting a couple of minutes if you qualify for business immigration. We will need to thoroughly assess you through me speaking directly with you, me providing you with a questionnaire, and then a formal consultation session. Thank you very much for giving me the privilege to speak with you, and I am looking forward to assisting you becoming a permanent resident in Canada and contributing to the Canadian economy.
Si eres un empresario, profesional, un empleador o una persona que busca inmigración temporal o permanente, este mensaje es para ti. En Ready for Canada ofrecemos servicios de inmigración hechos a la medida que están diseñados para satisfacer tus necesidades. Nuestros profesionales con más de 20 años de experiencia en inmigración serán mucho más que asesores. Serán socios dedicados a navegar las complejidades de emigrar a Canadá. Contáctanos y haz realidad tus sueños.